It's every game we're trying to play through our bigs, especially in the seams, in pick and rolls. And some games are going to get more opportunities than not. You know, obviously, all of those guys' ability to shoot a 16-footer helps. And then, you know, I thought they did a good job of getting to the rim on some plays, and you know, finishing off dump-offs or finishing off rolls, finishing on offensive rebounds, those types of things. But I thought all three of them played well, and Sully got us going early with a hot start, and then Tyler was great in the fourth quarter shooting the ball.
It's Super Bowl Sunday, but we're talking Celtics here on the Garden Report. We're going to dab it up here. Garden Report powered by Grandstand on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog.
Yes, I'm the boss.
Welcome to the Garden Report. Jared Weiss dabbing like a foo over here. Jimmy Toscano, how you feeling today, buddy? We got the Super Bowl coming up.
Now,
it's going to be good. But we had our own little Super Bowl here, as the Celtics-Kings game was actually pretty exciting. So
a lot of scoring, more than Peyton Manning's going to be able to put up. I know that much.
So there were 83 combined points in the first quarter, which was pretty remarkable. The Celtics scored 46 points in the first quarter, which is the highest of the year, highest since 1996 that they've scored in a quarter. Jimmy, they looked great. Avery Bradley, after making that three in Cleveland, just couldn't stop making
He's still
threes.
on fire,
He was
man.
incredible. He's really broken out of that January shooting slump where his effective field goal percentage, I think, is north of 55% now. What did you see in that first quarter?
I saw buckets, man. I saw buckets. 3 for 4 from deep for Bradley. He was the guy that kind of got them started. Well, Isaiah Thomas, I think, had the first couple of points, but Bradley had some huge shots in the first quarter. 3 for 4 from 3. Finished with 6 3-pointers. His second most amount of 3-pointers in a game for him this year. And that's after a 7 for 14 performance. So when you go 6 for 7, that's obviously a better day. I like what I see out of Bradley right now. I think he's got the confidence, kind of like that Smart's been showing from deep. These guys are all kind of getting confident in around the same time right now. And no coincidence, they've ripped off 9 out of 10 or whatever. I think it's 9 out of 10 wins. Yep. That's the confidence factor showing. When you start seeing shots go in, your teammates start seeing shots go in. One of the things Bradley said was we were moving the ball like crazy, finding open shots, and I know 5 out of his 6 3-pointers were assisted on, and that's normal for the Celtics team. They move the ball better than most teams do.
And they did a great job today of driving and kicking, collapsing the D and getting that open three-point shooter, ran some nice sets. But offensive rebounding was really a big part of them getting their open threes there. They did a really good job. And this is something that Stevens talked about pregame, is the idea of when you get an offensive rebound, whether to put it back up or reset or kick for an open three. And Stevens said that his general thought on this is, obviously, if you have a good angle to get the shot off, do it, but it's generally preferable to kick it back out. And we saw that practice today perfectly. I mean, they just nailed it today in that first quarter.
Yeah, and he mentioned that a couple weeks ago. I even wrote an article on it, and he referenced it again against the Sixers. They were just getting blocked like crazy because you got Noel and Okafor, 2 big bodies down low. A guy like Sully would, get a rebound on the offensive glass and go back up with it and get blocked. Now, instead of, if you got to be generally aware of your surroundings, what's going on around you, and if you start to feel like there's a guy hovering over you, kick that ball back up, because if the defense is crashing, somebody's going to be parked at the 3-point line waiting for that shot. So yeah, that's an easy open look for a 3.
Well, you talk about parking at the 3-point line and big bodies. How about DeMarcus Cousins hitting 2 really clutch threes to bring them back in the game?
What he do?
He was incredible at the end of the game, and what I thought was generally a pretty horrific day for him, where even though I think the numbers were good, defense was terrible. His lethargy really carried over for most of the team.
The whole team, yeah.
And the team kind of reflects the way that he carries himself out there, which is why they haven't been good. But at the end of the game, he goes crazy driving to the hoop, hits some big threes. I mean, he made every single offensive play you could imagine to get this team back in it. And Rajon Rondo was the guy really feeding most of that.
Yeah, I mean, Cousins offensively is going to be the most gifted big man in the NBA. I mean, he's a guy that just recently put up 50-plus points in a loss, which kind of sums up the Kings right now. But what he gives you offensively, most big men can't give you, but it's just you don't get that consistent effort on the defensive glass. I can't tell you how many times we watched him watch the play on the other end of the court because he wouldn't get back on defense. And guess who was standing right next to him half the time? Rajon Rondo. These guys don't get back on defense. They can clearly score the ball. 119 points tonight. Offense isn't an issue. They'll all tell you that offense isn't an issue. George Karl will tell you that. They'll all tell you what the problem is. But nobody will actually step up and play defense for this team. And that's why they're losing games like crazy. And that's why George Karl is probably going to be out of a job by the time the All-Star break is over.
I hate to blame Carl on this one, though. It seems like
I'm not blaming him, but it's clear
only Mike Malone has really been able to get Cousins to play hard defense. Otherwise, he hasn't been interested.
It's just clear that he can't get through to these guys. So I mean, what are they gonna do? You can't fire DeMarcus Cousins. You can't fire Rajon Rondo.
Well, they could. They could trade him to the Celtics.
They could do that, but that would be a poor decision, I think, on their part. I mean, we all know the easy decision is to fire the coach and go from there. It's the coaching carousel of the NBA, especially with the Kings. They can't keep a head coach either. And it feels like it's bound to happen very soon.
Maybe Vivek should throw $10 million a year at Tom Thibodeau if you really want someone to get DeMarcus Cousins to play defense.
Vivek's like one of those next. He's always thinking ahead. I think that he's going to be the first coach to hire like a computer to coach the team. I'm convinced of it.
He's got a great basketball mind in Nancy Lieberman right there, so that's another good candidate. But we'll have Watson, the IBM computer, run the team next year.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll only play offense, no defense at all, just like his daughter's was 7th grade team or whatever it was. All right, so just lastly here, Rajon Rondo comes back to Boston, second time now. He said it wasn't a big deal this time around. One thing that was interesting is that we asked him about how he felt as far as his fit in Sacramento compared to Boston, and or at least in the Stevens era. In the Carlisle era, he said that because of his numbers, he didn't feel like he had an issue fitting in with Stevens' team, which I vehemently disagree with. And we go back into our archives back to when he was here, and you can hear us talking about that.
They're a better team without him.
Exactly. So. But what he said was that with Carlisle's team, it wasn't the system, it was the personnel, and which made it sound like it was more than just Carlisle. Maybe it was other personnel there, but there is just no love lost there whatsoever.
No, I mean I think it was just an attitude issue. I do think it was a lot to do with the head coach. I mean those are two hard-headed guys, Carlisle and Rondo. We know Rondo doesn't get along with everybody, to put it mildly. Sure, he's had his fair share of run-ins with players. He's had his fair share of run-ins with Doc Rivers, and it sounds like him and George Karl aren't exactly the best of friends either. And we already know about Rick Carlisle, so there is definitely a pattern there. But Rondo's having, all that aside, Rondo's having a good contract year. He's definitely going to cash in on a bigger deal next offseason with all that money that's going to be thrown around. Although it doesn't sound like it'll be in New York. Derek Fisher doesn't seem like a big fan of Rondo.
He doesn't want to sign a non-elite player.
No, exactly. Not an elite player, not somebody who doesn't like the triangle offense. Yeah. So that's one team off the radar for Rondo. But I could see him going back with Sacramento. I don't know. I mean.
This seems like a good fit, and he's got Cousins there, which will make his life easy.
For now.
If he wants to coast and just feed it to Cousins the rest of his career, that works out nicely.
Right.
Okay, well, that's going to do it for us here. The Celtics pull this one out. They win 9 of their last 10.
Super Bowl prediction?
Let's go watch the Super Bowl. I think it's the Panthers 34. I'm saying the Broncos probably 21, 24.
I like that. I like the Panthers by 10 to 14. I don't think it'll be close. I hope it's close. I want to see a good game. I mean, and I wouldn't even care if Peyton Manning won. Let him win, but I just don't think he's got it. I don't think he's got what it takes.
I think it would be really cool to see Manning walk off into the sunset.
It would be cool, and Newton's got plenty of years ahead of him. I'm sure he'll be back in the Super Bowl.
Sure,
Manning will not be.
That'll do it for us here on the Garden Report. For Jimmy, I'm Jared. Enjoy the grandstand play of the game as we sign off here on the Garden Report.
Turn the ball over, and then on offensive rebounds, they kicked it out for 3, so it was a little bit of both. We didn't protect the 3 ball again well tonight. They got off to a great start. 74 at half is not going to cut it.